There is a part of you that no one has ever met. Not your mother, not the person who shares your bed, not the friend who swears they know you better than anyone in the world. There is a self beneath the self you show, and it has been waiting in the dark for a very long time. Carl Jung spent his life mapping that hidden country, and he believes something that most people are never brave enough to hear. The version of you that everyone sees is not the real you. It is a costume you learn to wear, and the longer you wear it, the more invisible the real you becomes. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in the quiet where only you can hear. When was the last time you felt truly seen? Not noticed, not complimented, not useful to someone. Seen, witnessed, known all the way down to the parts you never show anyone. If you had to stop and think about it, you already know why you're here. Jung believed there was a forbidden truth waiting at the center of every human life. A truth so few are willing to enter that most people spend their entire existence circling its edge, never stepping in. And it is this: the loneliness you feel is not because no one is around you. It is because no one has ever met the one who is actually inside. This is the lesson almost no one dares to follow. So stay with me, because the part of you that no one ever met is about to step into the light. You know the feeling I'm describing. You've known it for years. You just never had the words for it. It's the exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. You wake up tired in a way that has nothing to do with your body. You move through your days performing a version of yourself, and by evening, you are hollowed out. Not from effort, from the sheer weight of pretending. It's the strange ache in a room full of people who love you. You smile, you nod, you say the right things at the right moments. And somewhere underneath it all, a quiet voice whispers, they don't actually know me. They know the one I show them. They love a person I invented. It's the loneliness that follows you even into your closest relationships. You thought connection would cure it. You thought if you found the right person, the right friends, the right place to finally belong, the ache would stop. But it didn't. Because wherever you went, you brought the disguise with you. And maybe the cruelest part is this: the more people praise the version of you that you perform, the more invisible the real you feels. Every compliment lands on the mask. Every bit of approval feeds the costume and starves the one underneath. You are applauded and you are unseen at the very same time. I want you to understand something, and I want you to really take it in. This feeling is not a flaw in you. It is not weakness. It is not ingratitude or self-pity or some failure of perspective. You did not invent this ache out of nowhere. You were trained for it. From the moment you were small, you learned which parts of you were welcome and which were not. You learned that some feelings made the people around you uncomfortable. You learned that some needs were met with warmth and others were met with cold silence. You learned which version of you got love and which version got left alone. And like every child who has ever lived, you made the only reasonable choice a child can make. You became what was wanted. You buried what was not. You were not broken by this. You were shaped by it. There is a difference, and it matters. The modern world only deepened the wound. It rewards the surface and ignores the depth. It celebrates the image and looks straight past the soul standing behind it. You were taught to optimize the mask, to polish it, to present it in the best possible light to as many people as possible. You were handed 1,000 ways to be seen and not one way to be known. No one ever sat you down and taught you how to take the mask off. No one even told you it was a mask. So of course you feel invisible. You have spent your whole life being seen as someone you are not. You have been mistaken for your own disguise for so long that you've half forgotten there's a face beneath it. And here is the truth almost no one will say out loud. Being seen as the wrong version of yourself is lonelier than not being seen at all. To be misunderstood by strangers is one kind of pain. To be loved for a performance is a far deeper one, because it means the love can never reach you. It arrives at an address where you don't actually live. Now take a moment with that. Let it land all the way, because everything changes from here. Jung gave a name to the mask you wear. He called it the persona. The word comes from the ancient theatre where actors held painted masks in front of their faces to play their parts on the stage. And that is exactly what the persona is. It is the face you hold up to the world, the role you play, the agreeable employee, the strong friend. the easy partner, the one who has it all together, the one who never needs too much, never asks for too much, never makes anyone uncomfortable with the size of their feelings. Now, hear me clearly, because this is where almost everyone misunderstands. The persona is not evil. It is not a lie you should be ashamed of carrying. Jung believed the persona is necessary. You cannot walk through the world with no protection at all, with every raw nerve exposed to everyone you meet. The mask lets you function. It lets you work, relate, belong, move through a world that is not always safe for the tender things inside you. The danger was never that you have a persona. The danger is forgetting that it's a mask at all. Because here is what happens to so many people. The role becomes so practiced, so automatic, so consistently rewarded that you begin to believe it is you. You mistake the costume for the body underneath it. And slowly, quietly, without any single moment you could point to, the true self goes silent. It stops trying to be heard. It stops raising its hand. It retreats into the dark, and it waits the way a child waits at a window for someone who said they'd come back. This is what Jung described as the false self taking the throne. The persona stops being something you wear and becomes something you are imprisoned inside. The servant becomes the master. The mask grows, roots, and the one who is supposed to be living your life watches it happen from somewhere far away. And now we arrive at the reframe. The thing that changes everything you thought you knew about this pain. That feeling of being invisible. It is not proof that you are unlovable. It is not proof that you are broken or forgettable or too much or not enough. It is not the verdict you've always feared it was. It is a signal. It is the true self, the one buried beneath the persona, sending up a flare into the night sky of your awareness. The ache you feel is not the problem to be solved. The ache is the message. It is the part of you that no one ever met, knocking on the door from the inside, saying, "I'm still here. You did not lose me. You only stopped listening. Come back for me." Jung believed that nothing in the psyche is meaningless. The discomfort, the loneliness, the persistent sense that something is off, even when your life looks fine on paper. These are not malfunctions to be medicated into silence. They are communications. Your soul is always speaking. The question is whether you are willing to listen. So the feeling of being unseen is not a wound to numb and forget. It is a doorway. And on the other side of it stands the one you abandoned a long, long time ago, still waiting, still yours. But before you can walk through that doorway, you must do the single hardest thing a human being can do. You must turn around and face what you have spent your life hiding from. Not just hiding from the world, hiding from yourself. Jung called it the shadow. The shadow is everything you push down into the dark to keep your persona intact. Every part of you that did not fit the acceptable role. The anger you were never allowed to show. The need you were told was too much. The desire you were taught to be ashamed of. The grief, the envy, the fear, the wildness, the hunger. All of it was exiled, sent underground so that the agreeable version of you could survive and be loved. And here is the cruel irony at the center of it all. The very parts of you that you hid in order to be loved are the exact parts that would have made you real. You buried your truth to earn connection, and in burying it, you made true connection impossible. Because no one on this earth can meet a person who is hiding half of themselves. They can only meet the half you allow. And the half you allow is not enough to hold a soul. Jung taught us that the shadow does not disappear simply because we refuse to look at it. It does not dissolve. It only grows in the dark, fed by our refusal. That which you do not bring to consciousness will come to you as fate. The parts you reject do not vanish. They go underground and they run your life from there. They choose your relationships before you've said a word. They sabotage your peace the moment you find some. They whisper that you are fundamentally unlovable, and then they quietly make sure you never let anyone close enough to prove them wrong. So the work is not to become a better, smoother, more convincing mask. The work is to turn toward the shadow, to look directly at what you exiled, and to say, "I see you. I'm not afraid of you anymore. You can come home. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And the treasure waiting in that cave is the most precious thing a human being can ever find. It is yourself, the whole self, the one you were before the world told you who you were allowed to be. This is why you feel invisible. You have been hiding the very things that would make you visible. And until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. It will run the whole show from behind the curtain and call it fate. Now, take a slow breath. Because knowing all of this is not enough. Insight that you do nothing with is just a feeling that fades by morning. You have to do something with it. And what you have to do will not be easy. You have to begin letting go. Letting go of the performance. The exhausting, lifelong, full-time performance of being whoever everyone else needs you to be. The roles you took on so young that you forgot they were ever choices at all. They feel like facts now. They feel like you. But they were decisions made by a frightened child a very long time ago. Some of what you must release will be beliefs. The belief that your worth lives in your usefulness. The belief that if you ever stop performing, the love will stop along with it. The belief planted in you decades ago by people who may not have meant to plant it, that the real you is too much, or not enough, or simply unwelcome in this world. Hear this clearly. These beliefs were given to you. You did not author a single one of them. And what was given to you can be handed back. Some of what you must release will be identities. The roles you have worn so long they feel like skin instead of clothing. The strong one who never falls apart. The easy one who never causes trouble. The one who never needs anything from anyone. You are allowed to set these down. Not all at once, not violently, but you can begin today to loosen your grip on the ones that are strangling you. And some of what you must release, I am sorry to tell you, will be people. There are relationships in your life that only function because you stay invisible inside them. Connections built entirely on the performing version of you, the one who accommodates, the one who disappears so someone else can take up all the space. And when you begin to become real, when the true self starts to surface, some of those relationships will not survive it. The people who only ever loved the mask will feel betrayed when the face beneath it finally appears. They were not cruel. They simply never signed up for the real you. They fell in love with the disguise. I know how frightening that is. To risk the connections you already have for the mere chance at connections that are true. It can feel like setting your whole life on fire. But Jung understood that becoming who you truly are will always cost you who you pretended to be. There is no version of this where you keep the mask and find yourself too. Change is not an ending. It is a doorway. On one side of it stands the entire life of performance you've known. On the other side stands a life where you are finally, terrifyingly, completely yourself. You'll not lose what was real. You will only lose what was costume, and anything that was only yours because you were hiding was never truly yours to keep. So let it go. The mask is so heavy. You have carried it long enough. Set it down even just for a moment and feel how much lighter you were always meant to be. And here, right here, is where something extraordinary begins to happen. Something Jung spent decades of his life trying to understand and could never fully explain away. He called it synchronicity. Synchronicity is the strange phenomenon of meaningful coincidence. The moment a long-lost name appears the very day after you finally thought of them. The book that falls open to the exact page you needed to read. The stranger on a train who says the precise words your soul had been aching to hear for years. Jung believed these moments were not random noise. He believed the inner world and the outer world were connected in ways our ordinary daylight minds cannot quite grasp. And he noticed something remarkable, something that holds the key to everything we've talked about. When a person begins the work of becoming real, when they stop performing and start listening to the true self again, the synchronicities begin to multiply. It is as if the world has been waiting this whole time for you to finally show up as yourself. As long as you wore the mask, you were sending a false signal out into the universe, and the universe answered the false you. It sent you the wrong people, the wrong opportunities, the wrong life, because that is what you advertised. But the moment you begin to be authentic, the signal changes, and the answers change with it. The right people begin to appear. Not the ones drawn to your performance, but the ones who somehow recognize your truth before you've even spoken it. Opportunities arrive that feel too aligned to be accidents. You begin to feel, perhaps for the very first time, that something larger than you is meeting you halfway down the road. This is the first reward of the path. The proof that the work is real and not just a comforting idea. When you stop hiding, the world stops looking straight past you and finally begins to see you, because you, at long last, have begun to see yourself. But I will not lie to you about what comes next. The path is not a straight line into the light. No real path ever is. There will be days when you doubt every word of this, when the old self calls you back with a voice that sounds like reason, when being invisible feels safer than being seen because the mask never got rejected, the mask never got hurt. The real you is vulnerable in a way the persona never had to be. The mask could be criticized and you'd feel nothing because it wasn't you. But when the real you steps forward and someone turns away, that lands somewhere deep. So the temptation to retreat will be enormous, and you will look back at the years you spent hiding, and a wave may rise in you. Grief or shame, all that time, all those relationships where you were never fully present, never fully there. All those moments you swallowed your truth whole just to keep a fragile piece that wasn't worth the cost. I want you to hear me on this because it matters more than almost anything else I will say to you. Do not turn that grief into a weapon against yourself. Jung reminds us that the goal of this work was never perfection. The goal is wholeness. Every mask you ever wore, you wore for a reason. Every part of yourself you hid in order to survive a situation you did not choose. The child who learned to disappear was not weak or cowardly. That child was wise. That child did exactly what was needed to keep you safe until the day you were finally strong enough to come back for the parts that got left behind in the dark. So the missteps were not failures. They were the long road home. You could not possibly have arrived here listening to these words without first walking through everything you walked through. The years of invisibility were not wasted years. They were the pressure that finally cracked you open. The pearl needs the grain of sand. The breakthrough needs the long, dark pressure that comes before it. The resistance you feel is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. Understand this. It is the surest sign that you are on the right one. The old patterns always fight hardest in the moments right before they break for good. When the pull to retreat back into the comfortable mask is strongest, that is precisely when the true self is closest to breaking free. The dawn is coldest just before the sun. So when the doubt arrives, and it will arrive, do not mistake it for the truth. It is only the persona, fighting desperately for a throne it can feel itself losing. Now let us talk about how you actually live this, day to day, in the real world. Because a revelation you never practice is just a beautiful feeling that fades by the weekend. It begins with boundaries. For your entire life you have said yes when your soul was quietly screaming, no. You abandoned yourself 1,000 small times to keep other people comfortable. And every yes that betrayed your own truth was another layer added to the mask. Another brick laid in the wall between you and the simple experience of being seen. So the practice begins here, with the single most sacred, most terrifying word you own. No. No to the invitation that drains the life out of you. No to the role you have clearly outgrown. No to the relationships that quietly require your disappearance as the price of admission. Every honest no you speak is a yes to the self you have been hiding all this time. Every boundary you set is you finally saying, out loud, the real me is worth protecting now. The real me gets a vote. And you must learn, slowly, to honor the inner voice. The quiet one, the whisper that comes from somewhere deep within. The one you have spent years and years overriding and talking yourself out of. Jung urges us to trust it. It is not anxiety. It is not random impulse. It is the deeper self, finally being handed permission to speak after a lifetime of being silenced. When something feels wrong, even when you cannot explain why in words, that is the soul signaling to you. Stop dismissing it as irrational. Start treating it as sacred information. Start listening. As you do this, your relationships will change. There is no avoiding it, so let me prepare you for it now. Some people in your life only ever knew the mask. As the real you emerges into the light, they may pull away, confused, unsettled. Some of them will leave entirely, and as hard as it is, you must let them go. They were never truly in relationship with you. They were in relationship with your performance, and the performance is ending. But others will appear. people who feel like recognition the very moment you meet them, like remembering someone you never knew. People you do not have to perform for, not even a little. People who see the real you and lean in closer rather than backing away. These are your people. And the painful truth is, you could never have found them while you were hiding. The mask was keeping them away just as surely as it was keeping out the pain. The wall that kept you safe also kept you alone. So this is the permission I want to give you now. The permission you have been quietly waiting your entire life to receive from someone. You are allowed to stop performing. You are allowed to stop abandoning yourself for the comfort of others. You are allowed finally to be seen. And when you give yourself that permission fully, the world begins to rearrange itself around the truth of who you actually are. This is where everything comes together. This is the life waiting on the other side of the mask. Remember the synchronicities. They were not a one-time gift, a single lucky season. They were the beginning of an entirely new way of moving through the world. As you keep choosing authenticity over performance, as you keep setting your boundaries and honoring that inner voice, the meaningful coincidences deepen and multiply. The aligned conversation that changes everything. The door that opens the exact moment you stop forcing it. The growing, unmistakable sense that life itself is finally responding to you. The real you, instead of the costume you wore for so long. Jung described this as the moment the inner and outer worlds begin to mirror one another. When you are aligned within yourself, the world without begins to align to meet you, not because you forced it, not because you manifested it through sheer want, but because you finally stopped sending out a false signal, and the universe could finally locate where you actually live. Picture that life for a moment. Really picture it. You wake in the morning without the low dread that used to greet you. You move through your day without the constant, exhausting performance running in the background. You speak your truth, plainly, and the right people stay. You feel, at long last, the one thing you have been aching for your entire life without ever being able to name it. You feel seen, not because the whole world suddenly changed around you, but because you finally stopped hiding from it. The part of you that no one ever met is no longer alone in the dark. You walked into the cave you feared. You faced the shadow you exiled. You set down the mask you'd worn so long you forgot it was there. And the answers you spent your entire life searching for out there in other people, in achievements, in approval, were here, inside you, the entire time. The answers you seek externally were always, always within you. If something in you stirred while you listened to this, I promise you that is not an accident. That is the signal. That is the true self, recognizing its own reflection for the first time in years. Do not let it fade the moment these words end. Stay with it. Protect it. It is the most important thing you own. If these words somehow reach the part of you that no one ever met, tell me in the comments. Tell me what surfaced while you listened. Your honesty might be the exact thing another soul needs to read tonight, alone, thinking they're the only one. Share this with the person you thought of while you were listening. Subscribe and turn on your notifications so the signal can keep finding its way to you. This is a place for the ones who are finally ready to stop hiding. You are never truly invisible. You are only unwitnessed by the one person who mattered most, yourself. So turn toward the part of you that no one ever met. The one who has waited so patiently in the dark for you to come back. And finally, at long last, let yourself be seen.